Hello and welcome to the Modern Mompreneur podcast. I am your host, Dai Smith, fellow mompreneur, and here to just connect with all my mompreneurs who are out there balancing raising a family and building a business. We've outdone ourselves with these two things that we're trying to do, and so I wanted to really bring someone special on the show, Kim Roy. Kim, I met her because she was actually an agent pitching for one of her clients to the podcast. And she just happens to be a fellow mom. I'm like, well, girl, come on. Let's be podcast buddies. And so she had me on her podcast and now she's joining us. So welcome to the show, Kim. Happy to have you, girl.
Thank you, Day. I'm so happy to be here and so glad to be connected with you and your network.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm going to read you her official bio so you can really see who she is and who she serves. So Kim is a strategic pitching professional. She helps clients pitch with confidence so that they always have leads. Kim explains how pitching just doesn't lead directly to sales. It's about relationship marketing, expanding your reach, and building credibility. She talks about how to use your personal growth story as leverage for your business because stories are so important. She's the host of the Redefining Anger podcast, a girl mom, wife, mentor, and entrepreneur learning to live a life of abundance while navigating grief and anger after experiencing the traumatic and sudden loss of her father. As a strategic pitching professional, Kim supports ambitious female entrepreneurs who are ready to grow and reach their visibility by being seen and heard. Her personalized strategic approach gets her clients in front of their ideal audience, creating aligned connections and partnerships. So love it, Kim. I can't wait to dive into your expertise. Super, super helpful. So let's talk about how did you end up in this world of strategic pitching and podcasting and all of the things? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, well, it really does present itself a unique story. When you talk about the importance of story and leveraging it for your business, I believe that we all come with a story. It's a part of us and who we are, and it really leads the path to doing what we end up doing and the passion that we end up following. And so ultimately what happened is after I lost my father quite suddenly in 2019, my entire world flipped upside down. I was 6 months pregnant when I lost him with my first child. And so really long story short, anger took over my entire life. And it was about, 2 years into living in survival mode that I really was fed up with my own BS and decided to really embody growth and jumped into a healing journey. So I found community, and through that, I found myself healing in sharing my anger story. And so
Mm,
thus I birthed my podcast, Redefining Anger. The objective behind it was really to instill hope and inspiration in other women, in other mothers who are also battling their own wounds, their own trauma,
mm,
whatever it is that they have, right? We all have something. And it was also served as a platform for them to come on and share their unique story. And so
love it.
diving deeper into my own growth journey, I realized that the corporate job that I sustained for about 20 years just was not serving a purpose for me anymore. I felt like there was something missing. And being inspired by my own journey and being inspired by sharing my story, I really dove into pitching with open arms. I left my
Mm,
corporate job and decided to pursue entrepreneurship and supporting female entrepreneurs. I absolutely adore badass women who are just so courageous and vulnerable in putting themselves out there and leading with impact and
mm,
serving a world and helping their clients in whatever way that they need to, right? And so going
yeah.
back to how we all have a story, the beauty in pitching is when you really look to promote yourself and put yourself out there, you want to create that relatability. You want to really hone in on what sets you apart from your competition. What makes you
Mm,
relatable to your ideal audience? And so when you think of crafting a captivating pitch to get yourself into other communities, to get yourself onto podcasts for guesting, whether you're pitching traditional media or something different, it's really about leveraging your story and putting it out there. And so for me, it really has been just marrying the two. And when I look back in hindsight, I just know that the path was definitely created for me. It was meant for
mhm.
me, and here I am doing something that I absolutely love and adore, and yeah, as a mompreneur to boot. So I just love supporting others.
I love it. I love it. So you actually took your trauma and you were able to create something from that, which is a beautiful story. You often think that your biggest adversities are to take you out, but they actually are setting you up for some walking into something that you're supposed to do. So had it not been for that, I don't know if you would have had um the idea to become a strategic pitching professional and starting the podcast and giving people a platform to speak, really like you were the one that was supposed to do it. As hard as it may be, you were the one that was supposed to go through that to be able to build this out. So I love that. Um,
Yes, that's exactly right. I truly, without I look back, and of course, I would never want to relive the moment that I got the phone call that my father passed away. But to your point, when you can really use something that's, when something happens to you, rather than looking at it as, oh, why is this happening to me? Ask, turn the question around and ask, why is it happening for me? Because there's always a
mhm.
lesson to be learned. There's always growth to be had. And I really leaned on that. And I find myself today sitting in a place of gratitude for having experienced the growth that I did. Um, through the passing of my father. I don't know where I would be today without having experienced that growth. And so, yeah, to your point, I probably would never have launched a podcast. And I don't think
Yeah.
I'd probably still be in corporate today.
Yes, I just got a download because so I also lost my father when I was 16, so almost over 20 years ago. But when you just said that statement, believe it or not, he used to say that to me. He used to say, people don't do things to you, they do things for them. So a little bit different, but those were his exact words that I hold close to me. And you just said them. And here we are talking about, life as two daughters who, have lost their fathers. But yeah, that's just, I had to say that. That was a crazy moment
Oh
right
my
there.
goodness. I
So.
just got chills. Just got chills.
Right? It's like, wait a minute. But yeah, so one thing I love about what you talk about is telling your story because that is such a powerful way to differentiate yourself and to really connect with people. So even though you're called a strategic pitching professional, you're really helping people tell their story in order to give them visibility. So tell me about how you were able to create this type of business and who was someone that, how do people know that they may need your support or help with that type of thing if they want to do that?
Yeah. So a lot of the times, the biggest thing that I hear from my clients is they understand the value of pitching. They understand what it can do for them in their business. It really helps to create that sustainable long-term growth because so often we want to see the immediate ROI. We want to see the immediate results. And of course, why wouldn't we, right? We all want to see the sales, the revenue in our business. But
Hmm.
true authenticity in your business growth can take time. Building that authentic brand recognition can take time. And through that it requires relationship building and building those connections. And in my opinion, what better way to do that than authentically and genuinely putting yourself out there? I'll use podcast guesting as an example. This is where I really look at it as relationship marketing because you can come on, we can be having a conversation, here I am sharing my story, my value, why I'm passionate about this, and your audience is getting to know me. They're getting to see me for who I am. So what better
Hmm.
way to be able to promote myself in that manner? It's so genuine and authentic in that sense. And if they align with me, if they vibe with me, they're going to come closer to me and start following me. And this is where we start building those ideal connections and the relationships, and we get those leads closer to us that we want. And we
Yeah.
end up ultimately receiving that consistent stream of leads, right? But it
Yeah.
takes time to do that. And so one of the things that I hear more commonly from my clients is, I understand what pitching can do for me. I want to do this. I really want to adopt this in my business. but I just don't have the time. I don't have the
Mhm.
capacity to do it. So when I
Yeah.
first launched my business, I was really listening to those words, those key words, and that's how I developed one of my signature offerings, which is a done for you package. So I take care of everything from beginning to end. And that's
Mhm.
why I refer to myself as a strategic pitching professional, because there very much is a strategy behind it. We work up front on the strategy. I help you research those aligned opportunities, because we want to make sure that the opportunities we're pitching to are aligned for you, your business, your goals, and really getting you in front of your ideal audience, your ideal client.
Mhm.
And then beyond that, I help you craft the pitch. That's where the storytelling comes into play. That's where
Mhm.
I help you uncover your story. We look at what's your value, what's your mission, your vision, and your purpose in your business. And then we pair and we marry the two together. We create that captivating pitch with the goal of really getting your collaborators' attention. That's what you want to do with that
Mhm.
pitch, is grab their attention so that they can say, oh, hey, yeah, I want to learn more about that person, or I want that person to come guest on my podcast, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's understanding that you have a value to offer, and using your story to leverage that. And then I take care
Yeah.
of all the details, from sending it, follow-ups, everything. So it really ultimately comes down to, I help you meet your business goals through a long-term strategy, and I take care of all of it for you so you can turn around, buy back your time and energy, put your focus on your clients and doing everything else that you need to do in your business.
Yeah, got it. I love that. I love the done for you because it is a quite an undertaking to pitch and be on a podcast, do the editing and do all of the things, whether you're guesting or you are hosting one, which both sides of it. One thing I find is that you may be a guest on a podcast and then you get the episode, or maybe it airs weeks, months later. Do you help clients with also really leveraging that, continue to build that relationship with the host, or making sure that you're putting yourself out there and marketing it and even repurposing content? Do you help clients with that as well?
So I don't go in and do the actual nurturing for them, but that
Hmm.
very much is an element to the success that you're going to see with the visibility, excuse me, the visibility that you have out there. So,
Okay.
part of my framework is really coaching my clients into the importance of nurturing those relationships. So, if you're going
Hmm.
to go guest on a podcast, again, using that outlet as an example, you want to have a strong call to action. You want to understand, where do I want to draw my ideal client closer to me? Are you looking to increase your email list? Do you have a freebie that you have to offer? Maybe it's a free course or something, again, to get them closer to you. Once they're
Yeah.
in your network, that's where you need to start doing the nurturing, because that cold
Yeah.
lead now becomes a warm lead. And so it's really up to you as the visionary in your business to nurture those leads and to get them closer and closer and closer to you, ultimately, getting to that sale. So it wouldn't serve my client well if I did that part of it for them. They have to
Yeah.
really, bite the bullet by the, take the bullet by the horn in that sense and do it themselves.
Yeah.
But there is a coaching
Yeah.
element. I do explain to them the importance of that. But the one thing I do
Yeah.
want to know is, there's also building the connections and building the relationships leading up to that pitch and during the life of the pitch. So it's important that even before you get a success on the pitch that you send, to start nurturing the relationship with that contact ahead of time.
Hmm.
So even,
Hmm.
even before you get those leads closer to you, you also want to have that relationship building start ahead of time with the podcast host, with the editor that you're reaching out to, or whoever it is that
Yeah.
you're pitching.
Yeah, I love that idea. So you spoke about strategy, and it's more than just sitting down, recording, answering questions. It's what happens before, what happens after. Do you have systems in place to be able to nurture that? I think that's the big part of what you do around being strategic, because you're thinking about more than just one thing. You're thinking about the holistic view of everything, and also making sure that that the importance of it so that you actually get it done, because it is important for sure. So I like
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
love that piece. Well, I know you mentioned, we talked about you being a girl mom and a wife and a mentor. Let's transition to talk about, as a business owner. I know you talked about leaving your corporate job, starting a business
Mm.
in the midst of having a family. You were, have a daughter. talk to us about any aha moments or challenges around building a business and raising a family.
Oh goodness. So I think one of my biggest things, I mean, there's a number of reasons why I wanted to go into business for myself. But like most people, I think one of the reasons that drew me to it is really seeking that time freedom and having that
Mm,
flexibility in my own schedule. And it goes back to the conversation you and I had on my podcast of finding that work and life harmony, right? And I
mm-hmm.
think the biggest takeaway for me is understanding that we are the ones who have control over our time and energy at any given time throughout day to day. And so if you really are seeking that time freedom and that flexibility, you have to be able to create that for yourself in your business. And for me, I identify as a recovering perfectionist. And as a perfectionist, I really feel better in productivity, which is not always the right way to go because staying stuck in that busy cycle really can be, can zap your energy and it can take over your time. So it's really about finding that harmony and understanding that the flexibility is key, so you can have a day planned but you might need to pivot. You might have a kid who comes home sick, or you might get ill yourself, or you might need to pause in the
Yeah.
middle of your day and go for a walk so that you can gain that energy
Mm,
boost. So I think the
yeah.
biggest takeaway for me is really understanding that you are the only one in control over your time. So just because you're switching from a corporate job to self-employment, time is not going to magically appear. You have to have, control over that and understand your own needs and prioritize yourself and your self care in the midst of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people are looking at, maybe transitioning from corporate or full-time job to full-time in business with the thought that they may have more time, but when you're building a business, you are dedicating a lot of time to getting it up and running. And I don't think any entrepreneur would disagree with me that it could feel like you're like, wait a minute, what did I just do? I just left it. Now I got all this work to do, but the rewards are, like you say, you're getting to the opportunity to choose. And I meet more and more female entrepreneurs specifically who are letting go of that hustle culture and creating the businesses that fit their lives, the life first business. So, and
Yeah.
one way to do that is to, make sure you're reaching out to people who are skilled in certain areas like pitching, and being able to know that those things can help you to reach your goals without you having to know how to do it. And also it could be an avenue that brings you more increase and abundance, than you would have traditionally thought. So I love that idea.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Delegate what you're not necessarily good at. Stick
Hmm.
with what you're good at, and then what you're not good at, which can be a time suck, an energy suck, delegate that. And that's
Yeah.
why I really, really promote my pitching framework because again, most of my clients come to me and say, I just don't know where to start or how to do this. So hey,
Yeah.
I take that burden off of your plate for you.
Exactly. Like, let somebody else do it. Me and my friends joke, like, find somebody else. Like, if you anything that is depleting you, it could be a sign that that is not what you need to be doing. I mean, granted, you can't just throw money at everything, but
Of
be
course.
strategic about
Yeah.
it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what was it like when you decided to quit corporate, go into your business and build it from the ground up? Like, what were some things you feel like mompreneurs need to know? Because was your daughter born when you did this?
Yes. So,
She was?
yeah,
Okay.
she was 4, or she was not quite 4 yet. She was like 3,
Okay.
almost 4. Um, and so, oh God. Yeah.
Am I taking you
I
back
don't
to a
even
time?
I feel like that's a loaded question. I don't even know where to start. I mean, I'm blessed because my daughter is in daycare full time.
Mm-hmm.
I had her in daycare when I was at corporate, and so when I chose to leave and really embark on this journey for myself, I made the decision to leave her enrolled in daycare so that I could really take my time to
Mm-hmm.
building and learning and understanding from the ground up. But I think the biggest lesson learned for me in all of that is, you know, you can have this huge vision and like shiny object syndrome, right? You can like look at so many different things and say, oh, I want this, I want to do that. This person's doing this, maybe I need to do that. But it's really
Mm,
sitting down and understanding, strategizing for yourself and your business, understand what your goals are, what are your values, and build off of that. And then to your point, lean on support systems. So if you need to get yourself a coach, or you need to, find a community that can support you, so that you can learn along the way, but also not get
yeah.
so overwhelmed by the bigger picture, and keep your binoculars on and focused. And so for me, I really have to say I have not been too challenged with having my daughter at home. But I would
Hmm.
say that, yeah, the biggest thing, to learn when you're starting from the ground up is exactly that. Take the time to really hone in on what's your strategy, not necessarily someone else's
Mm.
strategy, because that might not work for you, but what's yours?
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that because I feel like that's definitely what a sentiment that I hear. And if you haven't heard that, then just let the guilt of not doing things a certain way or how other people do it go, and do it differently. Do it in a way that works for you and your family, and your business goals, whatever that looks like, and be okay and comfortable and confident that you're making the right decision. So I do like that you said that, because I think a lot of times we may look out and say, "Oh, so and so's doing this, and why don't I have this?" They got something else going on. They don't have what you have going on. They're not offering what you're offering. So work from staying in your lanes and being focused. I really do like that. So good deal. So now we're going to transition to my favorite part of the podcast, and that is the lightning round. So I'm going to be spitting off questions to you. Don't be nervous. They're all really easy questions. There's no wrong answer. We're going to get all in your business and learn a little bit more about you, Kim. So are you
All
ready
right.
for the
I'm
lightning
here
round?
for it.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So first question. What are three words to describe you today?
Perseverance, perception, stability.
Wonderful. What would you tell your 18-year-old self today?
Oh, you are capable of so much more than you can even imagine possible for yourself.
Mm, love it. What does it mean to you to be a modern mompreneur?
I, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's that harmony, right? So often we strive for balance. We want that work life balance. But I don't believe in balance, because when I think of balance, I think of everything has to have an equal level playing field. And it's
Hmm.
just not realistic. So when I think of being a modern mompreneur, I think of finding that harmony. So if it means taking a day off during the week, to do what I want to do, to maybe, spend time for myself, and then I put in a couple of hours on a Saturday morning, that's my choice. If I choose to, um, double down during the week so that I can spend the weekend with my family, that's my choice. So again, it's finding that harmony on like what works for you, and ultimately what's aligned with your values and how you want to feel. How do you want to feel at the end of the day, and really strive for that?
Yeah, yeah. Love that. Love that. Um, Next question. What do you love about being a mom?
Oh, I adore being mesmerized by my daughter. I just find so much beauty in watching her grow, learn, develop. I just I'm so fascinated by her on the regular, and I think that just brings me so much joy, and it really
Yeah.
warms my heart. I think, like, when I think of being a mom, I see the biggest smile that she has on her face looking up at me, and
Hmm.
that right there can bring sunshine on any rainy day for me.
Love it. That's beautiful. I love it. Well, I know she's young, but what do you think she thinks of you as an entrepreneur, or what would you want her to think of you as an entrepreneur when she gets older?
Oh, I would want for her, my thing is to really lead by example. I want to leave behind a legacy that not only am I proud of, but that my daughter can look up to me and say, "That's my mom." And, she's a badass who went after what she wanted, and she persevered through it. And
Hmm.
so my hope is that I am really truly leading by example and showing her you know, the pros and the cons, the good and the bad, the beauty and the ugly. I mean, and the everything in between, and that all of it is beautiful. All of it offers a learning opportunity, and that it's really just about making the best with what you have and understanding that
Hmm.
things happen for you.
Love it. Love it. That's definitely a beautiful gift. Okay, next question. What are you reading, watching, and or listening to? I know people got preferences.
You cut out a little bit. Can you reread that
Oh,
question?
sure. What are you reading, watching, and or listening to?
Okay, so there's a number of things that I'm watching. I have a couple of Netflix things that I'm watching right now. So
Yeah.
this actually came recommended to me, and I did not think that I would like it because it's not something I would normally, kind of like vibe with. But it's called Call the Midwife. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I
Call the
haven't
Mid-
called the
Call
midwife. Oh
Call the
Lord.
Midwife. Yeah, it takes place in London in the 1950s, and it's captivating during, that era and
Mm.
that time. So that is currently what I'm watching and on Netflix. And
Love
then,
it.
as far as listening, I as a pitcher, I listen to a number of podcasts because I do a lot of podcast pitching for my clients. So I'm not
Hmm.
listening to any one thing in particular right now. I just really
Okay.
enjoy listening to all of the podcasts that I pitched you.
I love it. I love it. What, and last question, what is bringing you joy in your downtime?
Oh, running. Running. I'm
Ooh,
an avid runner. I absolutely love it. When I'm out there on the pavement, it's just me, myself, and I out there with the fresh air. I just find so much joy and freedom out there, and that's really my outlet. That's my go-to.
I love
And
it.
so yeah, I would have to say number one, hands down. I mean, I could list off some
Yeah.
other things, but that's my
No,
number
but
one.
that came so naturally. She's like running. I love it. And I think that's probably really great for you as a podcast listener. You probably can get a lot of research done if you choose to on the pavement.
Yes,
Love
yes,
it. Yes.
exactly.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing in the lightning round. We learned a little bit more about you and got some good Netflix tips, perhaps. Call the midwife. It's always good to like find something fun and new that someone else has vetted for you, so you don't have to go scrolling yourself and just, I found some good shows and books from the ladies on the podcast. I'm like, oh, perfect, and I just kind of jotted down. So I love it.
I do actually
Um,
want to give a shout out to one of the books I'm reading right now. It's called
sure.
Deserts to Mountaintops by Jessica Buchanan. She is a phenomenal woman who I connected with recently, and Deserts to
Wow.
Mountaintops is a three-part
Oh,
anthology. So the one I'm reading right now is volume one, and her second volume is coming out in January. So check it out. It is amazing. There's a lot when you talk
okay.
about stories. There's a lot of real awesome, amazing, inspirational stories in those.
Wow. Deserts to mountaintops. That
Yeah.
title is amazing right there. I'm like, ooh, I want to know about this journey. Sounds perfect. Okay, good. We have to definitely put that in the notes so we can go buy that, support her and buy that book.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Kim, for gracing us with your presence on the podcast. If you're listening and you enjoyed the podcast, I want you to be sure to share it with a fellow mompreneur, anyone who's wanting to pitch and wanting to know how to navigate that and have someone who's super strategic and driven and really focused on female entrepreneurs to learn from and to hear from her story as well. Be sure to follow her podcast, Redefining Anger, and subscribe to it as well. Kim, would you share with the guests how they can connect with you and follow you?
Yes, absolutely. So I am most active on Instagram. You can find me on there. You can connect with me on there. I also have links in my bio, and that is at Pitch with Kim.
At Pitch with Kim. Pretty easy,
Yes.
y'all. She got it locked
Yes.
down. Okay, good. Well, follow her on the gram. Most of my guests, we stay on Instagram. Nobody is really on anything else. I love it. We can all just communicate on there. So follow her, join her journey on the podcast. And again, if you have any questions or you enjoyed this show, feel free to share with other mompreneurs. Thank you, Kim, for being a great guest. I'm so glad we were able to connect via your client and having each other on each other's podcast. I love it when that works out that way. So,
Likewise, likewise. When you talk about building those connections and those relationships, that's what this is all about. So I love it.
yes, Absolutely. And for all of my fellow mompreneurs, I want you guys to always remember to give yourself permission to follow your dreams because you never know what's on the other side of that. And so until next time, you guys be blessed and we will see you soon. Take care.